All right, everybody, here it is. Everything you need to know about the universes you love. And we begin today with probably some of the biggest news we've had in a while. The hype train for James Gunn's Superman, and along with that, James Gunn's DCU has been rolling for quite some time. But today, last week, whenever this dropped, it's official. It has begun. We got our very first look at the new Superman suit for David Corensweat and James Gunn's Superman. This is when a movie starts, really building that suspense. This is what we've been waiting for, David. The suit for Superman is such a big deal. We got our first look at it, and with that, our first look at the new Superman logo. Let's start there. David Thompson, this is your guy. You are the David Corensweat prophet. This is your Superman that you've been very excited about for a very long time. You're the Superman fan here. You're the Henry Cavill stan. I'm the James Gunn guy.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on here. Your overall thoughts and initial reactions to the new Superman suit.
Quickly, I think it looks awesome. Obviously, it was rumored, it basically got leaked that it was going to be a Kingdom Come-esque symbol because of the table reading that they did and an Instagram post. Regardless, I think the interpretation of the suit and the symbol look fantastic so far. It's sleek. I think that the coloring is awesome. I love the gold trim specifically, where it's not just the basic red and gold and then the blue surrounding, but there's actually gold outlining the outside, which to me kind of actually makes the S look a little more prominent, even though it is that kind of alternate symbol of being like from Kingdom Come, where it doesn't look like a proper S, right? So with all that being said, overall thoughts, I think it looks great. One quick note that I haven't mentioned yet to anyone, but I really wanted to nail on the podcast is that it is inspired by Alex Ross. And I haven't seen enough people talking about how big the symbol is. How the symbol itself, just based on the initial look, I'm looking at it right now, it is massive. Like it's a very, it's a zoomed in close up look. You get a lot of details here that we want to dive into a little bit more once you share your overall thoughts. But it is big, man. Like this thing is going to be the biggest live action Superman symbol I think we've ever gotten. And I really haven't heard your thoughts yet. Obviously, Superman's birthday, leap day, big deal. This released. You saw it. What were your initial thoughts and what are you thinking now about it?
My initial thoughts are that Superman's birthday, leap day, also the birthday of this dog right here, Indie Boy. He turned 4 years old, which means he turned 1 years old on that day as well. That was pretty fun.
That's awesome.
I love this logo. I agree that it's huge. I think that it being so big is going to be jarring at first, but once we see it move, it's going to be really cool to have such a big, prominent Superman logo right there on the front.
Yeah.
I love it, it's just a little glimpse. They really hit it because it's so big. They really hit the blue. But
Yeah.
I love the blue, man. That's what I was most worried's not the right word. I was most excited to see how they were going to handle the blue in the Superman suit because there really isn't a default Superman blue. There's that royal blue that you're wearing right now on your shirt. The like OG Superman blue is very light, almost like that new Fantastic Four blue that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Henry Cavill one is so unbelievably navy that it's like, when we first saw it, it was so new and different. But after so long, like that's kind of what a lot of general audiences think the Superman blue is, that navy blue.
Yeah.
So to see this kind of like crisp, more royal, like your shirt blue popping in right here on the corner of the new logo. Super excited about that because that's going to really make it stand out. And the S itself, coming from the Kingdom Come design, I love how it is built into the badge. I love how it's not an S within the classic Superman diamond that we see, which is like that's the original one. It's the diamond with an S written in it. And
Right.
the Henry Cavill one is a very super, almost graffiti like S within the badge still. This is built
Yeah.
within the badge. And I think it's just such a unique way to take on arguably the most iconic comic book symbol of all time. Like it's either this or Batman. There really isn't. I guess Captain America probably now. Now that Cap has, because you see those Captain America shield shirts
Yeah.
everywhere, right?
Yeah. Well, it becomes more of just it's almost less comic booky and more just like a USA style thing.
Which is, that's so sick. But like, man, I kind of want a Cap shirt now. But like the Superman shirts, like when I was in high school, like Superman shirts were like kind of my thing, as nerdy or like douchey as that might be. But
Yeah,
like I had so many different Superman shirts of all different kinds. I had the OG, I had the Henry Cavill, I had the black and white, I had this,
right.
all of it. But what's so cool about this to me is that it took what I loved about the Henry Cavill suit, that being the texture, the more tactile, layered kind of vibe that it has. That thread to it
Yeah.
that the Henry Cavill suit has, but it added a pop of color, which is what I always wanted Henry Cavill's suit to have, like it had at the end of Black Adam a little bit, a little more color
Yeah.
there at the end of Black Adam. Huge fan. I love it. Very excited about it.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the texture because I really wanted to discuss this with you because we got this close up, right? And because it's so close, we see all of these details. And something that I love is that there's real texture to it. It almost looks like one of those kickballs that you would play with in like the schoolyard when you were a kid, with that kind of like thread look, but it looks almost like rubber to me.
Sure.
And like the indentations around the S, it's less of an S and more of just like a symbol, but there's real like grooves within it where we haven't talked about the snow yet, but where the snow is literally wedged in between some of like the lettering and, obviously kind of the canal between the gold and the red there. Like there's real texture and depth to it. And that, like you mentioned, is very similar to Henry Cavill in the sense where very textured. Obviously, that had like the Kryptonian writing on it because in Man of Steel, it's a very big point that the suit is Kryptonian.
Stands for hope. Did you
Stands
know
for
that?
hope.
Mm-hmm.
It sure does. And one thing I do really like about this is that it's kind of leaning against or going against it being an S, and it is more of just like a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there is something kind of silly about it being an S. Like you mentioned, it is an iconic logo and symbol, right? The Superman S. But Captain America, Batman, right? It's their symbols, their logos. It's like a representation. It's not literally like a C and a B, right? Stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I do really appreciate that. You knocked on you mentioned the blue. The coloring is, I think, going to be a lot more clear when it's more of a, I guess, maybe not naturally lit, but this seems to be in a very dim area. And I think some people on the internet were thinking it was going to look, or it was going to look even brighter than it is. But I think that's not a proper representation. And yeah, that blue specifically, I'm very excited to see in like a full suit reveal.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And the reason I think the blue is so important is because the big red cape is going to be a big red cape. Like they're not gonna go away from that. So
Right.
like the blue needs to stand out on the cape, and I'm really pumped about it. And yeah, man, I think this is a great. It's so weird to get so excited about such a small thing. You know what I mean? Like this is just a very still shot of a super zoomed in Superman suit, but like this is the first step into what this next DC era is going to be. Not just Superman, everything about
Yeah.
like I will stand on the hill that the greatest thing the DCU did was their costumes. And like everything they did as far as suits and costumes outside of the Batman Superman fighting suit, I think they're like batting 1,000 when it
Yeah.
comes to costumes, and being able to like move forward from that is going to be challenging, but I'm really excited about what this is. You mentioned the snow. It's covered in snow. Any Superman fan knows that has a Fortress of Solitude leaning note to it, I
Yeah.
guess you could say. So I guess my question for you is the Superman fan, what do you think the Fortress of Solitude is going to play into what a year one Superman story kind of looks like? We've been told it's not going to be like a true origin, which, Man of Steel technically wasn't like like we didn't know a young Clark growing up. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's an
But like
origin story though, for sure. Man of Steel.
definitely, but it's not like in Iron Man where we meet Tony first and then he becomes Iron Man. Like
Right.
this is it's interesting. So how do you think they're going to like introduce the Fortress of Solitude while also reintroducing Superman to new fans
Yeah, I mean, when we get to the fortress, which apparently they're filming in Norway right now, that's like apparently where they are.
or Norway's
Pretty
beautiful?
pretty cool, literally. And
Hey,
with that being said, that's a great question. There's a lot of speculation and not leaks, but just rumors and ideas and what could this mean? The facts are they said that this story, it was either Safran or Gunn, James Safran or James Safran, Peter Safran and James Gunn talked about how the movie is going to be focused on him dealing with his basically Earth life, his life in Metropolis at the planet, and then also dealing with his Kryptonian past. It was something along those lines. So I imagine that with the Fortress, this is going to be how we get into some of the Kryptonian past, right?
Sure.
His Kryptonian heritage, I believe, is what they said, and that is going to be the way in. And I think I'm curious with this new Superman movie how long he has been Superman, because that has not been confirmed. James Gunn has not given us and I don't think he ever will. He hasn't given us a specific time. Whereas with the Batman and Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, we knew it was 1 year in. He was 1 year in, and we were kind of going into year 2. This, we're not quite sure. So with the Fortress of Solitude, this could already be a regular thing. And I think that's going to be a lot of this movie. Kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming, a little bit like the Batman, where we are jumping into this character from the jump, and we already see him doing Superman-ass things, right? Being Clark Kent, being at the, at the planet, going to the Fortress of Solitude. Lex Luthor's involved, Lois, all these characters are already in the universe and already set. So this is going to be a part of, obviously, not only a Superman activity, but a Kal-El activity as well. And it'll be very interesting to see, it's the first thing they're filming, how much is at the Fortress and how many scenes. And does he go back? Is it just one scene? Is it multiple scenes? Is it one of those things where he's not just there once in the movie, but he's discovering more and more as he ventures back and forth? It's exciting stuff. It's crazy. You mentioned how big of a deal it was. I tweeted something out where February 29th, 2024 was the second biggest day in the new DCU history, only behind, January 31st, 2023, when all the announcements came out. And that's where we are, and it is so silly and so crazy because we have a snow dusted, zoomed in, crest, but it is. And there's just so much speculation, and I'm just so excited.
Look at you with the tee up transition. On that Slate announcement that we got, we learned that the title of this movie would be Superman Legacy. Well, drop the legacy. It's cleaner. It is now Superman. We have transitioned into it now being Superman exclamation mark. Explanation mark? Exploration mark?
Close.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Superman. David, obviously, we've been calling it Superman Legacy for over a year now. I know this was tough for you to lose the Legacy titling just because we were so excited about it. But what are your thoughts on the title change? Do you think it really means all that much? Or do you think this is more of a branding thing? Let's just Superman. It's cleaner.
Yeah, I think it is cleaner. I think that's part of it. I saw people online were mentioning how the original Christopher Reeve Superman was marketed as Superman the movie. So technically, marketing-wise, this will be the first just Superman movie. And I do think beyond it just being simpler and cleaner, this really, I think for many people, will show a reboot, where it's just Superman. There is no legacy. There was, even if legacy, and I think we should keep legacy in mind for themes.
Sequel.
And it may be a sequel, but just for this movie, it was called Legacy for a reason. Then James Gunn said, "Oh, I finished and reworked the script and just wrapped up the script. It's just Superman, But why was it initially Legacy? What are those threads and possible storylines that you'll be able to kind of see Legacy in? So I think it'll still be present, but for marketing, I love Superman. It is so clean, it is so perfect, and it is crazy to say. I'm in on the name. It's crazy to say that this movie has already so much pressure and anticipation on it and just unbelievable stakes. And making it just Superman rose those just a little bit more. It really did, because I know Christopher Reeves, it was quote unquote the movie. That's Superman. When you say the movie Superman, that is what you think.
78.
In 20 years, are we still going to think that? Or are we going to think this? And that is a moment in time. Because genuinely, if this movie sucks, which it could, I don't think it's going to at all. If it sucks, man, what a terrible bummer. And you would still think of that Superman when you say that title. But I have faith in James Gunn and the creative crew, so I'm all in.
Yeah, new members of the Direct Podcast, just remember a circle of trust: Feige, Favreau, Filoni. James Gunn, and I think Tony Gilroy made his way in there.
Oh my
These are
gosh, he
people
should
we
be in there.
trust. These are just people who we trust, and we're very excited. And yeah, man, I think just Superman with a big exclamation point at the end, I think is going to be a really exciting title. I can't wait for the logo treatment. That's what I'm most excited about is to
Yeah.
see the first logo for this movie, along with this Superman S, which, like you said, it's not really an S, which I think is so fucking cool. Yeah, man, I think that this is a great start to what I'm hoping is a great DCU. A rising tide raises all boats. So like, we need great comic book movies, especially when we have really bad comic book movies being turned out like Madam Web. And this
Yeah.
is a good start. So we're very excited.